जय जय सुरनायक जन सुखदायक प्रणतपाल भगवन्ता गोद्विजहितकारी जय सुरारी सिन्धुसुता प्रियकन्दा पालन सुरधरणी अद्भुत करणी मरमन जानई कोई जो सहज कृपाला दीन दयाला करहु अनुग्रह सोई करहु अनुग्रह सोई। जय जय अविनाशी सब घटवासी व्यापक परमानंदा अभिगत गोतीतम चरित पुनीतम माया रहित मुकुंदा जेहि लागी बिरागी अति अनुरागी विगत मोह मुनि वृंदा निशिबासर द्यावहि गुणगण गावहि जयति सच्चिदानंदा जयति सच्चिदानंदा। जेहि सृष्टि उपाई त्रिविध बनाई संग सहाय न दूजा सो करहु अघारी चिंत हमारी जानिय भगति न पूजा। जो भव भय भंजन मुनि मन रंजन गंजन विपति बरूथा मन बच क्रम बानी छाड़ी सयानी शरण सकल सुर जूथा शरण सकल सुर जूथा। सारद श्रुति शेषा ऋषय अशेषा जा कहूँ कोई नहीं जाना जेहि दीन पियारे वेद पुकारे द्रवहु सुश्री भगवाना। भव बारिधि मंदर सब विधि सुंदर गुण मंदिर सुख पुंजा मुनि सिद्ध सकल सुर परम भयातुर नमथ नाथ पद कंजा नमथ नाथ पद कंजा। जय जय अविनाशी सब घटवासी व्यापक परमानंदा अभिगत गोतीतम चरित पुनीतम माया रहित मुकुंदा जेहि लागी बिरागी अति अनुरागी विगत मोह मुनि वृंदा निशिबासर द्यावहि गुणगण गावहि जयति सच्चिदानंदा जयति सच्चिदानंदा।
Can all hear me well? I was actually feeling that 2 days of satsang in a week is more than enough. And Fridays we'll see what we can do. What ideas do we have? Huh? Satsang? Okay, but not in the monologue. Maybe Friday all of you can speak. Huh? We can read the Ramcharitmanas. That we should do for sure.
You can do some of the practices and you can, here only we can do it.
The practices we can guide, okay, that's good. You can go to St. Peter's Church. You can go to some temple, some church, some mosque, if they let us in. And sing bhajan. So what are you currently contemplating? Yeah? Mine.
I was reflecting and contemplating on the Siddhartha book by Hermann Hesse,
Yeah.
in which Siddhartha meets, he's been a seeker and he meets Buddha somewhere halfway down in the book. And his friend Govinda decides to follow Buddha. And he's very excited about, okay, we found the master. And Siddhartha doesn't do that. Although he has high reverence for the master and he knows he's an awakened being, he asks Buddha that, you know that you can't teach me what you have realized yourself without a teacher. And so they are in kind of agreement. Buddha just smiles and he goes on his way and so on and so forth. And I was reading some other book recently and that similar topic came up, that there is a limit to, how much you can be taught, kind of thing. And so I just wanted your kind of guidance or take on that for people like us. And but then when you read other stories of, let's say, people who went to Bhagwan or Maharaj, or there are so many other stories where the master was primarily the medium of ending that journey in some way. Yeah, I just wanted you to share your thoughts on that. Yeah.
So maybe today, instead of my usual lame attempts to answer, what I could do is maybe together we can help frame what would be worth contemplating. So, the truth is ineffable, beyond any description. I cannot speak it, our mind cannot understand it. And we come to satsang because we want to go beyond the usual, what the world has to offer. You see? Because what the world has to offer seems exciting, but makes us tired, makes us restless. We lose sleep over the things of the world. So, in coming to satsang, we want to go beyond the world, and that is where the confusing role of the teacher comes into play. You see, because what is he going to say? What am I going to say? Can I say something which is out of this world? I can't say. All language, all constructs are in this world and they are used to define this world. So a teacher can't really help you in that way. That many have realized. Also that as an opposite, we've also seen that so many sages, especially in the Indian spiritual tradition, it's made clear to us that without a guru we are nowhere, we can't get anywhere. You see? So then what is going on? A teacher can't really say it, you can't really hear it, and yet sometimes it is said that without a teacher, Guru bina koi kaam na aave, Kabir ji said. Without a guru, nothing is of use. That's worth contemplating. So maybe every Friday I'll just add to your troubles by giving you more questions which are not so easy to answer.
So to Narain's beautiful question, I feel like the answer is both yes and no. So I think from a worldly perspective, the teacher can give you conceptual guidance.
Yeah.
But the real learning for your being is to recognize the presence.
Yeah.
So it's even in silence, like the bonum, to feel the unity and that you're witnessing your own body, you're witnessing your own person, and so then creating automatic distance without you're doing a thing that's Guru's, the light shining from the Guru is creating the separation between what you took to be yourself and the true subject without your making a single effort. So that's the kind of magic alchemy which is beyond something that we can write down or verbally say. And I feel like that's actually recognition of that is what sets you, liberates you, because you then recognize that your person is witnessable by you and all your thoughts are witnessable by you. And they're all coming from the same ineffable source, not the body that's thinking, but body and thoughts are all coming from the same ineffable source. And we just made the mistake of assuming that we were the body that was thinking. And so that's, I mean, I just want, it's both true and not true, and depending on how you react to it.
So that furthers the conversation then, which is the person sitting in front, can any person sitting in front be really the Guru? And if it cannot be a bundle of flesh and blood who is the teacher, then who is an actual Guru? Who is the true Guru? And why do we need a Guru in the first place? It is said that the Guru is the bringer of light. But there's enough light in the world, no? If you buy enough, maybe you buy enough generator then you can get lots of light. What is this light which is so special about the Guru's light? You can contemplate this question. Okay, this one I'll give you the answer to actually. So, the Atma, the true Guru, is the only one in whose light we can see the absolute reality of even where Atma comes from. So that reality of the highest, the reality of God, the reality of Nirguna Brahman, we can only meet in the light of the true Guru. That is why the Guru is the light which shines light on even that which is unperceivable. So in the world of Maya, we don't feel like there is anything beyond this world of Maya. That is the human condition. We think the world is just between my birth and my death, and maybe my next lifetime and previous lifetime, all of those. But my life is within time and space. Outside this perceivable world, there is nothing. Then all these questions of why did all this happen, how did all this come, is anything real here, is this not a dream, is this reality, all these questions keep bothering us because there is no answer till you find that which is beyond this world itself. So if God's reality, the highest self, is that unperceivable reality of pure awareness, then how will we come to that? Nothing we do in the world can get us there. Isn't it? We may amass all the material wealth. What will that get us after we die? And I'm not saying we must be averse to wealth. I'm only saying that there must be something beyond this. I was talking with a friend today, and I was saying that basically every moment is either about material wealth or spiritual wealth. And material wealth is not just money, it's something that we want from the material world. That we want people to like us, we want to have relationships, we want to amass bank account, we want to further the health of the body, and we want to understand more and more about how this world works. So all of this is about the world, and there is no problem with any of that. But is there something beyond all of this? So that which is beyond the material is spiritual. And do we need to build any spiritual wealth or no? That is the question we can ask. And if we are to build spiritual wealth, then the spirit itself, which is the Atma itself, has to guide us. So one thing seems pretty clear, that whether we need an external teacher or not, or who the teacher is or not, that is secondary. But we definitely need the guidance of the Atma within, the Holy Spirit, to the true teacher, to bring us to that truth which is beyond the realm of perception. Now suppose that you say that I don't believe all this, that there is God which is beyond perception. I feel like this life is all there is. we have to be a good person and just live through this life and then we die. That's it. Suppose that that is your belief. But now you've come to satsang and a mad person is telling you that actually your idea of your life and of this world is a little bit limited and reality is much bigger than that. And there is the reality of God and His presence sits in your heart in the form of the Atma. Yeah? So, you heard these foolish words. See? Now what options do you have? You can say it's all ludicrous, sab bakwas hai, chhod do. There's no point, it's all wasting our life, leave it all. You see? But suppose that you say that you admit, like I admitted at one point in my life, that I really don't know. Is this true? Is God, the one God who is the God of this universe and every universe, is His presence really here in my heart? Just like if you discovered that in one corner of your house there is a hidden treasure which can take care of everything. You may say it's a rumor, it can't be true, okay? But all of us will still dig, even if we hide it from our family. We'll just go in the night one night and just dig and see, really is there treasure? Okay? So that is the introduction to satsang. That I just want to motivate or inspire this much, that I'm telling you what I take to be a fact and you may take to be a rumor or an unreality or something too far-fetched, but just to make you that much open that the highest treasure in the universe can be found within yourself as the Atma is a living possibility for you. Okay? And your mind will doubt, your mind will resist, it will say, not possible, I don't have time for this, all of these things. But somewhere something may get seeded in you, which may help you to look, to dig for that treasure, which is, in my words, the highest treasure that any human can ever find or discover. And whatever might happen, you may be worldly in your outer expression, or you may be intellectual, or you may be jnani, or you may be a bhakta, whatever it is. If I can see this in you, that this foolish man is telling you that God exists, He is real, and you can live in His presence. He exists in the form of your Atma. And you can find it and you can live with it. Then I've done my job. The rest is just the momentum from that, which has to take over. But if the question doesn't change from what about me to what about God's presence, then neither, I mean, in God's grace, everything is possible, but neither are we deepening in our relationship with God, and neither will we see any point of satsang. So really, truly, even keeping all that we've understood and all words of satsang aside, is there God and is He here? Or is it all just some hocus pocus, make believe stuff? How can we approach this question? Is there God? Yes.
So I think the essence of my question is that, so if I look at my journey so far here, my life has literally changed upside down in a good way. I wouldn't want to go back even remotely to that old world. I've said that before. And so where it is today is the presence felt? Yes. Is the recognition of mind and ego crystal clear most of the time? Yes. Everything is a yes. The only thing that is a gap or a doubt, and again, I'm not in a rush. Maybe I should be in a rush. I don't know. I feel like anytime I have rushed on the spiritual path, I've sought for shortcuts or hacks, and it's better to be patient and trust grace that it'll show up when I'm ready. But to your core question, is there God? In my experience, where I am today is I can recognize the presence, and if I notice Arvind's language in most satsangs, he defaults to presence. He rarely says God. And I don't know he's doing it because he's not yet felt God exists or not. But I also default to that language. Not because I have any resistance, none actually. In fact, I have a spiritual envy, if anything. I'm doing paintings at home right now with our embodiments of Krishna, and I'm doing them out of awe and love also. But if I'm really honest with myself, do I feel Krishna as God inside of me? I can't say yes. And the other aspect of this observation is I have faith that this presence, essence, must be God because Father is saying it. And it's faith in you that's giving me faith in God, because I see you as an embodiment of that. I'm not seeing God anywhere else other than in you. So if I close my eyes and I sit in presence, I see you. And maybe that's enough. I don't know why I need to go beyond that. But when I'm in satsang, you are putting so much emphasis and power into God. And that's not a criticism. That's why I'm showing up every time over here, because of that spiritual envy that I want to get there too. But then something in me says, you see Father in your heart all the time. I was in the US for a month. You were with me every day. And yeah, I feel like that's enough. So something in me wants to say, yes, I do feel God in me. But then it's only Ananta, Father, that is in me. Not able to see anything bigger than that. So that's the honest answer.
Thank you for that report. Very good, very good. There's so many aspects there that we can try and peel off and look at. So the first question, of course, was the seeming conundrum of patience, because patience is a very important virtue, and not rushing, I keep emphasizing, is very, very important. And the seeming dichotomy between patience and like a restless longing for God. And what is the answer to that? Nobody can say. Like, I don't have the answer. You must be fully patient, and that restless longing which makes you, in the words of Hanuman Podaji, Vyakul without God, that is also most auspicious. So both are most auspicious, unfortunately. And I can't say this has to be valued and this has to be devalued. I guess what we could say is that yes, we must be fully patient, and it is the great divine longing which has helped us to transform our life the way it has anyway, even if it doesn't feel like it's like a grasping, which it isn't. The longing has a different flavor from the grasping. So another beautiful thing to contemplate. So the language of a spirituality which is almost godless, but with mild references once in a while to make sure that we are just keeping it under the umbrella of God, you see, is something that maybe for 10 years of sharing satsang, I excelled at. I was excellent at it. If you read Consciousness, Speaking with Consciousness, it will be probably a master class on how to speak in that way and how to term spirituality in those references. But and that is a beautiful spirituality as well. I'm not devaluing it in any way. And as far as it felt here, it felt fully beautiful, authentic, heartfelt, and leading to the realization of the true self and the true presence which is within us of consciousness. So now the real question then is it a deepening which is happening here in Ananta's life, where it seems like to mention a word in satsang without saying God seems almost wasted. To make consciousness seem almost scientific in some way, that when we go inside, then we feel the presence of consciousness there, and consciousness arises out of awareness. So all of that is almost pseudo-scientific in some way, because the language doesn't include awareness or consciousness as, especially consciousness, not as a living being, but as a scientific phenomena like gravitation or electricity. You see? So if you open the electrical circuitry, you will find mechanics and the electricity flows through that. If you touch any of the live wires, you will feel an electric shock. So then it can become like that, where you do the inquiry often enough and you will come to a place where there is consciousness. So you will meet that consciousness. You see? But in that consciousness, when spoken about just in terms of almost pseudoscience, we miss a lot of the beauty of consciousness itself, in the form of his love for us, firstly. Deep, 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 faithful, undying love for us as his children, as his beloveds, whichever construct we want to use that in. Then his intelligence. We may sometimes start to think of consciousness like nature. You see, we may say, oh, nature is doing all of this. So it's like almost like what is nature? Is it God? No, not really. Is it scientific? No, not really. So it's like a pseudo-scientific term, which is like, oh, nature is like this, or the universe does this. This is what the universe wants. Many times we use these terms. This is where we're conveying that it has some sort of intelligence, but let's not go as far as to take it to be a living being called God, the supreme living being. You see? So something is either scared of that or has some conditioning about it, or just because the different stream of terminology, you see, which is not popular in modern Advaita Vedanta, then it can seem like, oh, but now is this the bhakti path? But I was on the Gyan path. All these kind of confusions can happen. But can I really say that it is a deepening? I don't know. I feel like I'm just becoming a more and more beginner every day. But what is seeming clear to me is that if I can't have this kind of love with this being in my heart, then it doesn't feel like this life would be worth anything at all. So if I'm not feeling this kind of love, joy, insight, peace, contentment, because he is here, you see, then it's seeming like what are we doing in spirituality anyway? It's like what's a good way to put this? It's like going for the best 7-course meal, but just having some salad. So again, I want to clarify, because these are very subtle things. So I want to clarify that it is not true that if we look at this being as pure presence, as consciousness, and we recognize that there is attributeless pure awareness which is aware of this being, then that is, I'm not saying at all that it is some insipid, dry, boring spirituality. You see, in fact, if you look at the first few satsang, or the first few months of satsang that I shared, I had this satsang grin on my face, really throughout. And somebody would ask a question, then I would say, but whatever, like that, seriously? And then the grin would come back. So I'm familiar with that grin because my jaws would hurt, my cheeks would hurt, just carrying that grin throughout. So it is full of love, it is full of joy, it is full of peace. All of that is completely true. And that is God's grace. But somewhere here, this expression started to change, and it became more about praising God, giving Him the credit for all the grace, seeking His blessings and love and mercy in the process of a deepening spirituality as well. How did that happen? I don't know. Whether it is good or not, I don't care, because the love that I feel, I don't feel could be leading me wrong. You see? Do I know in my mind, in my intellect, whether one is the higher path and one is the lower path? I don't know. I don't feel like we should be caught up in those things anyway. But what I want to give all my children in some way, and even those friends, brothers and sisters who just want to listen for a short time, is that whose presence is in your heart is not just some electrical brain circuitry playing out, or some scientific natural principle playing out. It is the supernatural one. It is the Holy One. It is Him who people over centuries have called Ram, Krishna, Jesus, Allah. It is that one who sits in your heart. The absolute light of this universe. And He loves you. She loves you. So, and she is, whichever way you want to look at it, available to be with you in whichever way your heart truly desires. He's right here in your heart, in your spiritual core, after the layer of body sensation, thoughts, emotions, all of that. As you dig deeper into your core, you find the holy presence which is His. So is God's presence, His Atma, Holy Spirit, more attractive to me than just saying consciousness? And it's ironic, since my whole idea was consciousness speaking with consciousness. Is it? Are these terms more compelling for me at the moment? Yeah. Does that mean that what was spoken earlier was not true and does not have the potential for freedom, peace, and joy? No, that is not true.
Father, did you have any such transition in your journey where you at some stage were feeling the presence, and with your guru you also accepted that this must be God, like you're describing right now? Was there like some kind of this ultimate switchover kind of thing, this universality, and did it happen in that way, or you just...
Yeah, in some way, yes. Most of you know this story that for a long time I was on this spiritual quest and I felt like I'm not finding what I was looking for. And it all came to a head because I left whichever sanghas I was part of and just started focusing on the inquiry. And then this was just after my time with Ramesh Balsekar. So, but Maharaj's questioning of stay with your being, be with I am, all of this for so many years, it just uh, had got me stuck very badly because somewhere I knew it is very true and somewhere I knew I'm not finding it. You see? So it was just that is the one that really grabs you, know? That you can't leave it also and you can't get it also. You see? So we can't really say linear switchovers, but a few moments I remember, like you all probably know about the auto rickshaw experience where I was going from here. Now it was in Diamond District those days, so I was going from Golden Enclave or Casablanca, one of them, to Diamond District. And in the auto, I was throwing a tantrum with Maharaj. And what is this being? How come I can't find it? I can't be with this being. You keep saying, stay with the sense I am. I was only with the sense I am 3 years, and see, you see. So I was having a big tantrum and getting really frustrated and angry. Not angry so much, just frustrated, lamenting at my state. So just sitting in that auto rickshaw, in a few minutes, the being, the presence became apparent. I don't know how it happened, whether what switched, but as it became apparent, it's just like, yes, this has always been here. This is what I was looking for. It's so obvious, it's right here. And then the natural fear that it should not go. Now I'm experiencing this being, I want to stay with it. You feel like, no, it should never leave me, it should not go. So that, but it never left. It was just, I left many times. You see, I leave his presence, but it did not leave me. And at that moment, I did not think of it as his presence, God, none of it. I was like, I have come to my sense of being, my presence, which Maharaj keeps saying is the most important to try and be with. You see? So then what the textbook version of what I should have done is that I should have stayed with this sense of I amness, beingness for 3 years, like he said he did. You see? Was I able to do it? Not at all. Very badly. You see? So, and in fact, many times I still feel lost and confused and not finding the answers and just searching everywhere for answers. Till I came to Guruji, then sitting in front of Guruji, I saw that there is complete dissolution of what I took myself to be, and I'm just aware of this being even. I am this awareness itself. And that seeming deconstruction or almost deconstruction of personality happened over the next few years, where I just wanted to sit in silence most of the time. You see? But again, I had this fear, I remember I would go into the shower and I would think, like, it should not go away, this awareness, it's so clear. So, by God's grace, by Guruji's grace, it became apparent this pure awareness is my true nature. So that's how it happened. Then the sharing of satsang started, and for many years it went on in the same lexicon of Advaita Vedanta, till most probably I have to give credit or blame to Kierkegaard, where I feel like he started it, where he just started asking questions about faith, about love, about God, about how much our surrender is. And I started to see that I was getting very comfortable in like a lip service spirituality, and getting to a point where it was almost mechanical to just speak about the things which were deeply conditioned here by that point of time. So, but he shook me out of a sort of slumber where with the Abraham story, and he said that spirituality without faith is not spirituality, and no risk, no faith. And the highest amount of risk that one can probably take in this life is the story of Abraham. And I looked at that story and said, whichever way I approached it, as pure awareness, as just pure presence, as a tiny instrument of God, whichever way I looked at it, as a moral being, as ethical, as a human, as right and wrong, any angle, I could not get myself to be as open and accepting as Abraham was. It just wasn't there. So if God had given me the task that he gave to Abraham, I started to feel like this is not at all something that I can get myself to do. You see? And of course I tried to Advaita it away and not get identified, all of that. But I saw that there is a hypocrisy in me where, where in the moments of insight I am noticing the reality of what I really am, but it is not really playing out in my life in that way. I'm not living anywhere close to that faith, anywhere close to that surrender, anywhere in that sense of saying that if God's will is guiding me in this way, then I started really questioning the boundaries of my faith. And I realized that my faith is really, really small. It's really, really small. So, and then so many things happened. We watched The Chosen, we watched Tulsidas Ji, we watched so many of these things, and I realized that there is something very drawn to this kind of a deepening where I don't know, I don't have the words to say where what, but where something, where something feels a little more risky, something feels like my boundaries are being exposed, something shines a light on my hypocrisy, my lip service of seeing, of truly seeing that my reality is that, but also the littleness of my worldly existence, which played very clearly from time to time, and I could not deny, I did not want to be in denial of that anymore. And then I really started to study the lives of the sages, and I found that really, truly, the greatest sages were not in denial of this aspect even the highest, in spite of the highest recognition. You see? And then it started occurring to me that both are alive at the same time. The highest insight, which is Abheda, indistinct, one with God, complete non-duality, and that tiny aspect of the me which continues to play out, which can rely on the words of the truth of that ultimate reality to shelter itself and avoid deepening in love and faith to God. So that process of unfolding happened here in some way, and I've been so blessed by such beautiful gifts throughout this life. That His grace blessed me with the darshan of the Atma within. Then His grace took me to the recognition of that Nirguna reality that I am. But His grace also did not allow me to convert that into just a conceptual understanding and something to sit on for the rest of my life, and showed me the boundaries of my faith, the boundaries of my love, and showed me that which seems so distinct at times, all of these parts, all of this game of spirituality, then when God is taken to be central and not what I know and what I share, then all of it is like a beautiful flower. But if I put myself at the center of it, all seems like a tug of war and difficult. And but what is true? Is it like this or is it like that? So more and more deepening in love and servitude to God also is happening by His grace alone.
Anantaji,
Yeah.
I feel to reflect something from
There you
what I
are.
received. Yes, I feel to reflect something from what I received. I want to catch it now because otherwise it would go past probably. And it is just that you give us, you embody for me the trust in love. Actually, in the love we are, and I was contemplating about what is the mysterious power of true intention, and I came to actually very directly to say to express it is the love we are is the main intention, and what I feel in what you are sharing and of your beautifully about your way is just a display of this inmost movement of love we are. And it may go through the mysterious power of this true intention, which is love. It's just completely flexible. It can go into all states and through all states, because it is the root of them and the contemplation of them at the same time. So I really feel when I listen that you are still trusting, and that's where faith is so.
We lost him.
Can you hear me again?
Yes, yes.
I'm sorry, it was not the right moment to have yes. I don't know where I was, but I saw kind of freezing of you, so I have a kind of clue. I was saying,
Trusting.
yeah. I was saying I can really feel the trust in the love, that love is the supreme power. It is the power that actually, or is the source and the way to the source. And so I can really contemplate, hearing you, how much it's similar to what I shared the other day, that how the consciousness is contemplating itself under all its aspects and from all angles, and it is constantly exploring itself, so to say. And we when we see this, trust is growing, and that's where I was about to say about the faith you have been questioning and exposing, so to say, to its own light, so to say. And so for us it is very inspiring, because each of us is actually in the same longing for that flow, and when it is felt as flow, and that's what we can feel in satsang. We discover, we confirm to each other how flowing consciousness actually is, and then because we constantly ignore it, because we were used to the intellect, which is stopping, which is not flowing. And so slowly in satsang, and that's why I wanted to talk now, because you just expose so generously all your way, and it's a blessing for the soul just to receive this reflection of what actually each of us is doing. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Master,
Yeah. Yes, Sandeep.
I'm unable to see you.
You can't see me?
Oh yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
It's like even now, like I can't even describe what's happening to me just in hearing what you speak, you know. Because it's like it's just so true. It's just so true. Like I cannot confirm it with words, but it's like everything you say is just true. And there's this like even when I'm speaking to you, speaking right now, although it's coming from emptiness, but there's still like a filter of identity through which the words come through. And this thing that like this falsehood that I spoke to you about last time, it's like it's there somehow. It's somehow there, and it can be very dangerous, you know. If it's allowed to like grow on the roots of like concepts, especially concepts that are like based on the truth, but they are not really rooted in the spirit of truth, just like the conceptual idea of it, but not in the spirit of it. And I'm really just grateful that God brought me to you because I just imagine like if you're not here, I don't know what will have become of this life. You know? And it's it's like this thing. I was reading also like Saint Teresa. She spoke of this thing in the seventh dwelling where she was speaking of how the sense of one part of the soul seems to be in union with God, and the other part seems to because it's still something that because even now when I'm speaking, like it's like there's something that is not speaking, and within this that has, and when you turn towards God, where does the joy come from, and or like the sense of being one with, where does it where so like how can you explain like this seeming like sense of dual like sense, I don't know how to explain it, but when you just speak, it's just like it just reflects so true, and it's like yes, this is what I was longing to hear. And each time you like speak, it's always just like yes in my heart because it's just true. And
Yeah.
like sometimes it just feels, I just sometimes like I just look at the contrast and it's like I see the contrast, although it's not necessarily an outer contrast, but it's like an inner contrast where it's like something is so pure and there's something that is so foolish. Like something that is so like, especially when it's almost as though it's vanishing and then it just shows up somehow. Like this thing, it just shows up. And it's like at first, like before meeting or before like this shift took place, because when I was growing up with like the concepts I had about God, although there was like still an intuitive sense, I always felt like sin was like an outer thing, just like limited to like outwardly, like how we like brought up not to like lie, to steal, or this kind of thing. But by the grace of God, as going inward, you begin to see like the subtlety of it, that you can even like be a priest and everything, and wear like the outer clothing and have all these things. But if something like this Maya thing is is even these words, you can still hide in it, man. And there's something that I'll never forget when you like spoke of the narrow lane, and you also spoke of how one sage said that even in the devotion, even when being devoted to God, this thing can still, this falsehood is still just, I don't know, every time it's just like, I'm always just, my heart is just very like, something just happens to me every time you speak. And it just rings so deeply true, as though like I've heard this, but I just needed to hear it again, or something gets reflected so deeply.
Very good.
Thank you so
Very good.
much. Thank you.
We love you. Thank you, my child. Very good. Very
Love
good.
you so much.
Love you, my child. Thank you. You know, one thing we all start to realize is that the Atma is a very broad teacher. The Holy Spirit is a very broad teacher, and we cannot categorize it into any boxes. So, to live in the discipleship of the Atma is truly the spiritual journey, because otherwise we can find ourselves getting boxed in two constructs in spite of our best intentions not to be. So, like, let's take a simple example. In Advaita Vedanta, usually the path of being free from the ego is to chop the ego. The ego showing up, chop. The ego showing up, chop. You see? So, and that has a very strong place in spirituality to be that ruthless with the false is very good. You see? But can we say that it is always applicable? Not in the way of the Atma. You see? In the way of the Atma, sometimes that identified one is taken to be like an innocent child. Okay, this child is innocent, they're growing, they will mature into the truth. You see? So to encourage, to allow them to flower. You see? Now, and that may seem like a different path, a path of love, a path of bhakti. So what I'm saying is that we just have to be guided moment by moment by the Atma within. Allow yourself to be surprised by your own expression and what is unfolding for you. And these boxes can lead to a lot of trouble and a lot of pride. So, after I started sharing satsang, a child gave me this name, the Smiling Axeman. And I felt like, in a way, that is true, that a lot of chopping happens from here. And if I look at the sharing now, it seems very different from that. I don't feel that consciously any sort of attempt to chop anyone is here, because I just first want to chop my own pride before chopping anyone else. But this is the beauty of the Atma, that it's a very broad teacher. It can chop when it needs to, it can encourage when it needs to, it can allow the flower to flower in so many different ways. So, in boxing ourselves, we must not fall into any of that trap that this is my way or this is not my way, this is how we must be and this is not how we must be. Just allow His will to truly unfold in every moment of your expression. That is the attempt. Am I successful in that attempt? Of course not. There's a long way to go. You see, there's still boxes of conditioning which operate strongly, but at least the attempt is there to be empty of them. There are many wake-up calls. Like I feel like when I heard Anandamayi Ma say that we must never get angry, I just felt like, but I am so angry. And I have all my reasons for it, I have my excuses for it. But she has said clearly that we must not get angry. So, can I work on my anger? Can I work on my irritation? And I realized that anger, irritation, all of that comes from pride. So, there must still be pride here, which makes all these things come. So, part of this unfolding now is to work on these things which Grace shows us constantly that they still play out. That if a sage is saying that we must not get angry, no excuses, then and if it's still playing out over here, then what right do I have to call myself a teacher or much less a teacher of God? So that these doses of humility have been helpful in deepening this journey, deepening this love for God. And every day I'm reminded of how much conditioning still plays out. There's work conditioning, there's family conditioning, there's satsang teacher conditioning. But to return as much to innocence as possible, and more focus being on the audience of one and not the audience in front of me. That is the attempt. Because it is not difficult to fool everyone in front of you. It's quite alright actually, it's not that difficult. You see, but can we escape from our own eyes? Can we hide from our own integrity? And more importantly, can we just get away with a lack of integrity and honesty with God? So our denial and our claims of perfection, we may be able to convey those to the world, and the world will most likely believe us also. So the world is waiting to meet somebody who is perfect. The world is waiting to get some hope in the form of perfection through meeting someone. You see? So we grasp at straws in that way, but in that there is the poison of taking that to be true for yourself, and the world considers that to be true for you, and that is a huge disservice we can do to ourselves. Because that's when our growth stops. That's when we stop deepening into the truth of God's light. So to be fresh, live from His will every moment is the only true freedom that we are looking for, and the only true freedom that we can find. To return to that innocence of a child, where the parent's will is paramount and we don't know. We don't care about knowing. We're just enjoying being. Can we be like that? What would that look like? That's the question. Is it possible at all to live in that innocence, in that simplicity? Our heart is yearning for that, that much is clear. You see, all of us look at our childhood days with nostalgia and say, oh, it was so nice. You see? We'll have all the stories, but what we're actually missing is the way we were. We don't miss having to go get the cricket ball from that angry uncle's house and all that. Nobody actually misses that. We are actually missing how we were. That's why those stories just become representative of how innocent and childlike we were. So that returning, is it possible to rely on God like that? What will happen if we were to try it? And that which we are scared of will happen is the attachment to our will, our way.
Anantani,
Yes, yes.
I feel again to say something about that, but it is a story I want to share. It is I don't know how long it will be, but it is very, very precious, and I might make it a bit short and probably try to translate it and send it to so that it is available after that. But I'll try to make it short. It is a true story about that faith you're talking about that childlike faith, that absolute surrender. It is the story of a man in France who was as a young boy he lost his sight and he lost his sight with an accident, and he became his parents were clever enough to let him in his usual school so he could learn to deal with it, and he became very skilled and at sensing everything around him, even he could see the landscape, so to say. And so he was 18 or around 18 when the Second World War came, and he went into the resistance, and he was very precious there as because he could sense who was true and not true, and so he could check the ones who wanted to participate, and then but as it is in the war, and they were caught all because somebody was tortured, and so and they were all sent in a concentration camp, and he was very young, and it was a Buchenwald. It was a very terrible one, and so it was he went to hell, so to say, and in this hell he met a man who was called Jeremy, who was just had been a smith, a blacksmith, yeah,
Yes.
in his village in France, and who had somehow been in his own search and had met some masters, and who was actually very wise. And he said, when this man came into the barrack in the hut, these things they shared, and where they were piled like sardines. Whenever he came in the opened the door and went in, place was made for him, because his mere presence was just peace itself. He would not talk a lot, but he would never say anything negative about anything. He never said anything negative about the SS, who were torturing them constantly, and everybody could feel that he had mercy on them. And so he was fully respected and fully blessing everyone around him. And so it went for a time, and at some point, one day he came and said, tomorrow I will be gone. They will have me. They will kill me. He knew somehow from a source, he knew it was about to happen. And he just said very calmly, I was very happy to meet each of you. And that's it. and he was no emotion, no pathos, nothing. And the next day he was gone. So for me, this stays in my heart, and I'm very happy to. I was wanting to share it one day with you, and it is such a powerful example of what facts just show. It doesn't. It speaks by itself. We don't need so much words. Just this simple power, so powerful presence of such a man. And yes, that's it. Thank you.
Beautiful. So inspiring.
I will say I will translate because this witness, he has become a very precious writer, but he died quite soon, in the 60s. But he has written a book which is called his is called Jacques Lucéran, and this book is called The World Begins Today.
I see.
The world begins today. So I will translate this extract and send it to you.
Very nice. Thank you.
And see how we will share it.
We can all come. We can just come. No? We said we don't have to raise hands. And we just pretend as if we're in the same room.
Ananta-ji, can you hear me? Thank you so
So
much.
we'll let Sajan go first because I will do first.
Sorry.
And
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you, Father. It's such a blessing to hear you in the heart, because this staying with the holy presence, and just moving without intention, even to make a point or anything, is so rich. And it's true that there's really not knowing how this expression would change or would evolve. Even some things that feel precious maybe from before, like I've done this or I've done that, in just a moment of being within this spontaneous presence, you don't need to keep anything. It's just
Very, very, very good. Exactly. What a privilege it is that we can recognize the holiness of this presence. Holiness is like the perfume of God. You feel a sense of something out of the world, something out of the natural. Just to be able to access that within our self, capital S self. Such a privilege, such a gift. You see, and then, like you rightly said, that the idea that this should lead to something or what does this mean for me, or what happened in the past. All that is completely irrelevant to us, because it's like saying I'm holding God's hand and then wondering which metro ticket I have to buy or something like that. You don't have to worry about any of that. What a privilege it is to be in contact with the holy. No? Meet the holy. We oftentimes forget the privilege. And that is the hand we must not leave.
And the only risk seems to be to lose completely any story.
Yeah.
To just be without any story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not like the stories are not available also. Yeah. But going to any point, then it's like you said, if I do my will,
Yeah.
it's it has a little flavor about it of something I know, or like to be right about something. Mm.
Yes. Sometimes it can seem quite literal that when we go to I know from head to heart, we before we even get to the know, we start to feel a sense of disconnection, a sense of just,
Mm.
like a constricted uh, sort of sense. So we just learn to smell more and more, moment to moment, to smell which way we are going, whether we are going towards pride or we are remaining in humility.
Mm. But sometimes the transition seems to be very quick.
Yeah.
Like it starts because the heart is there, and then it starts, and then it quickly can become this rush of yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's why these examples are for that, to catch anger before it becomes anger at the level of irritation itself is good. You see, to notice the subtle movement away towards, oh, but I know, oh, but I said, oh, but I think, you see, that you
Mhm.
start to notice that, and then if you allow it to get momentum, then before you know it, it seems very big to handle. Then it seems like it just has to play out, it has to be vomited out, and that is the
Yeah.
only respite we can get from it. So, as we deepen in remaining in God's light and presence, our sensitivity towards those movements outwards
Mm.
will increase more and more. But yes, many times it seems so fast that I'm already caught in that idea, caught in that identification. And then we must try our best to just return. And we must not allow ourselves to become despondent about it. Yeah? That's why that beautiful example from St. John of the Cross, which was that the mind may distract you 100 times, but that gives you 100 opportunities to return to God. Isn't that beautiful? That you wanted to just stay, you wanted to do your ADS, or you wanted to do your inquiry, whatever you wanted to do. And the mind is so distracting. And our usual approach to that has been that, no, this has to stop, I have to do it better, and that adds to more stress and unworthiness and guilt. But if you just say, that's a chance for me to do this act of love towards God. The mind is compelling me with some idea of getting something or resolving a problem or something like that, but I pick God. And then the mind again tempts us, and then again I pick God. So that goes from the very template of being a frustrated meditation session to an exercise of love over and over again. So sometimes just the framing, changing the framing of these things can help a lot in our process.
And what is being held on to here is maybe anything that seems to lead to this pure unity, like the pure experience of God, and anything that seems still makes sense in the mind that somehow helps, then that is held as like something very important.
Yeah.
But
It's all right. So
yeah,
I would say let it prove itself to you. In the sense it makes that offer. If you just did this, then you will stay as pure awareness. So say, okay, show me. And if it shows you, then it's fine. But if it just gets you more into that, oh, I know this has to be like this, and then therefore this, and then therefore that, so then it must be like this, then it's just fooling you. Then just say, okay, then you promised me that this will lead to pure awareness, so show me. And of course, this is just an example of an approach. It be just inquiring into it, surrendering it, chopping it, allowing it to prove itself to you, because the mind cannot live up to its promises. Like if the phenomenal could promise the non-phenomenal, then that phenomenal would be universal by now. You see, it would be universally available to everyone, saying that this is it and this works for everyone. And that completely discounts the value of grace and God's will.
Yes. Maybe I say something, and now let's see if I climb up into this.
Yes. Happy to. We all get some popcorn and come.
So this exploration in pure perception happened like for I don't know how many years, maybe 10 years from Rupert. Alongside with Guruji, I was doing, and I like those ones still even now because they don't try to get anywhere to awareness. It already starts as awareness. You just invite all experience just to be, and you look. So with Guruji, it was somehow by his grace, this knowing I am awareness was there. But then with Rupert, this knowing that everything is also ultimately awareness, it came more through this way of looking at that experience and bring it very close. And just without mind, just seeing what is all of this. And it's so beautiful because it starts to become unlimited, even the seeming different things or sensation, perception, senses. They all start to just become one unity, one without borders.
Yes. So, good. So, did you climb up?
No.
No. Okay, good then. There's one ladder where it's always safe to just climb down, not to go up and then from head to heart.
It's just the other day when we spoke,
Yes.
like I listened this morning to again what you shared, and it was very easy to see that we were so much. There was no contradiction
Yes.
in what you were saying. You were just saying to not put a border on how God can appear in the manifest.
Yeah.
Just that makes sense to us, like even through the whatever we can explain. So, and that's consistent with this experience where at the very close to awareness, everything is unlimited. You can't even say anything about anything.
Yeah.
But from there, sometimes like I couldn't say God knows, like God, which for me is this pure awareness. I can't say it knows everything. If there's everything, then it knows everything. But more close, it doesn't know anything but pure awareness. So the only knowing is just pure knowing. There's nothing else to know. That's what I was somehow trying to say. Maybe now it came a little bit more easy somehow to.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
And I have to watch out this confirmation because I'm not really here to be confirmed or to, like you sometimes say, we just come to satsang to have our own knowledge confirmed. Like, yeah, you're right, you're doing good. So I'm really here to just live as close as you can to this just spontaneous presence, how God moves you spontaneously. And yeah, that's.
It's good. It's good.
Thank you, God. It's all your grace.
Very good, very good.
Thank you.
Atma Gyan, Atma Gyan. The most confusing commodity to the mind. Okay. When I sit in Atma Gyan, I know nothing. But it is only then when everything is known. It's just that knowing is such a small word and seems to convey like, I can tell you the capital of Timbuktu is knowing. But self-knowing, self-knowledge is a completely different instrument and we must find a different word for it. I wonder if we should, actually it may not be true that we should find a different word for it. It is more like, or whatever limited insight I have, it seems to be more like you take a dip in the ocean and inside the ocean you're not grasping for any bubbles. The bubbles you can't say, oh small bubble, big bubble, this means this means that. And the sharing of satsang in a way is like that, you just coming to the edge of the surface, trying to be fully immersed, but just to see what is bubbling up on the surface of that ocean, which can lead to immersion into that ocean. Okay? And those bubbles we may call insights or pointers. Okay? And then usually in the human condition, we are on the surface, we are not in the ocean. And then that completely different brand of knowing, which is conceptual, which is perceptual, seems to be the central knowing in our lives. And yet, because the source is the same, like I know that I am, can sound just the same as I know that I am Ananta. But actually it is universe apart. Those two statements are not at the same level at all, not in the same universe at all, but they sound so similar. And because that similarity in the world seems to make it seem closer, then it seems like that is what knowing looks like. To know that I am, not even the presence of amness being here, but it is I, which I can't place in any perceptual or conceptual way. It is that I which is being, is am. And it is dangerous to speak in these words because it's very easy to climb that ladder with these words. This, okay, then this, okay, this computes, okay, then I got it. No? But to remain immersed in that holy place and to just be truly only wanting to serve God, allowing the bubbles very close to the surface to be spoken about, that in some strange way, I know it doesn't explain anything, it's okay. Forget it. In the empty, is all known or is all forgotten? Both are true in a way. that all that we considered to be known is forgotten. But that is truly where all is known. That is why Atma Jnana is so valued in spirituality. What is the difference between a scripture and a book? Scripture is just a book about God. Who wrote it? That's beautiful. Who wrote it is the difference. Beautiful. Okay, you can come. Aniko wanted to come.
Thank you, Ananta-ji.
Very welcome.
Thank you. I so much was waiting for to speak to you because I carry so much guilt for a week now, and I just would like to share and maybe get rid of. And I know this is a kind of ridicule things again, but it was like when I really supposed to be still and empty and open and be present, I just couldn't be. And when my cat Siegfried was dying and he started really to suffer and crying and spasming and crunching, I was just crying and screaming, and I just ran out from the room, Ananta-ji, and I just pray, may this my behavior not be an obstacle to him to dissolve fully to God.
Yes.
And also, please, never in this life be my behavior obstacle to anyone to turn towards God.
Obstacle. What would an obstacle be able to do in front of God's will?
I just felt, Ananta-ji, I should be there with my presence, with my openness, with my love to help him, if he has an atma or soul, I don't know, to fully dissolve in this God's grace, and I couldn't feel that I could help. And sometimes also I feel this in the life. I cannot help when I really need to help. I am there and I don't know. My emotions overwhelming me, and I am not there. And when you call someone just having armchair spirit, sometimes I just feel this when I really need to be there for someone. I am not able to, Ananta-ji.
Nice. I hear you. So it's two different things that I'm hearing actually. So first, don't worry that nothing can become an obstacle to God. There is no such thing. For God, everything is always easy. Nobody can make anything difficult for Him. So free yourself from that idea. The second thing is about making yourself available and empty when you feel guided to do so in your heart, but there's too much fear or too much mental resistance. It's okay. We're all just learning as long as we remember to try our best. Because despair is just the mind winning twice. Like one saint said that to come into despair is the devil winning twice. So, okay, you notice that there's a certain weakness about these situations. All of us have, most of us have these things. So, just we'll try and do better next time, if there is a next time. And doesn't have to be, of course, the same situation, but whatever situation life brings us to, we will do better in that particular situation. So as quickly as possible, the focus goes back on His grace, His love, His light, and moves away from the me.
Anantaji, I also has a prayer if you wish to confirm it. I just wish no any animal in this world suffer anymore, and no any innocent child, and if they die, may they fully dissolve in God, in God's love and peace fully.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Anantaji.
Who wants to come? You can just come.
Hi, Ananta-ji.
Hello. Try and zoom in a bit.
I'm not sure if you can see where I'm speaking from.
Now we can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very good. Very
Mm. Yeah, I just wanted to say that I really appreciate your honesty with your journey. I think, yeah, sometimes it's very comforting realizing that even someone who's been through an experience like yourself will also come across hurdles and, it still has conditioning arising, and to, really feel that sense of like equality that you're extending out to all of us and our hearts, and unveiling that, and that we share this journey together to be kind to ourselves.
Yeah.
That we're doing the best that we can, and that we can have this greatness in us, as well as this conditioning, and it was really helpful to hear you say don't be discouraged, because I feel like I've been through a time of a lot of conditioning coming out, and almost like berating myself or seeing where I'm judging myself, and then what's the use, and how that doesn't help. It just keeps spinning the story, and
Exactly.
and just kind of entraps myself, to be like, oh gosh, I'm not good enough for God. And like you said, like, yeah, God was always waiting there for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's very comforting. So yeah, thank you.
Very good. I'm very happy to hear you speak these words. I just feel that actually in the other day in Satsang, some words came that I feel such an antidote to discouragement, that we can never be discouraged if we remember those points. So let me elaborate on all of it a little bit, and then we can condense it so that we may return to the pointers again and again. But the broad point very much is that God is here. God is here. The whole design of Maya, the whole idea of Maya is to convince you that actually He isn't. He's just an idea. He's just a belief system. If you believe in God, then it makes your life better, but He's just a belief. There is no actuality of God's presence, His reality. That is my job, to convince you that the world is real and God is unreal. So, if we are in spirituality, our faith, our heart, our intuitive insight has told us that God is. He is the reality. That's the first thing. But what does that actually translate into when we look at it? We look at our life through the lens of that. Then that just simple statement that God is conveys to us that He is aware of everything in my life. He is aware of everything in my life, my intention, my action, my inaction, my breath, my heartbeat, everything that is happening in my body, mind, intellect, and emotion. Everything He is aware of. So His existence, that He is, firstly reassures us that He is aware of everything. Because He would not be God if He was not aware. The second thing we can remember is that this reality called God is not bound by time and space. What that means is that if He wanted to, He could have an unlimited amount of time for all of us. He would never have a shortage of time. Like, I want to help you, but sorry, I don't have time. I have 7 billion just humans to look after than trillions of animals and things like that. You see? So, but because he is beyond time, and time is just a plaything that arises within him, he has an infinite amount of time to help each of us. That is the second thing. The third thing is that he, as a source of love, the creator of love and the creator of life, must feel an immense amount, unfathomable amount of love for us. Because the love that He gifts us all comes from Him. The true unconditional love only comes from Him. So we find intuitively that His love for us is unbounded. There is no boundary to that love. It's unlimited. And the fourth thing is that nothing can get in the way of His will. He can do whatever He wants. So if He is aware of us, He loves us so deeply, He's got an unlimited amount of time for us, and nothing can get in the way of His will, then without doubting any of these, how can we get into any sort of despair or discouragement? So it is doubting God and His nature and how He is, which can lead us to this kind of spiritual discouragement, spiritual suffering. So I encourage all of you to deepen more and more in His presence so that these words are not just a conceptual belief, but you see them as true insight in your heart that every aspect of this is true. And that then leaves us with no reason for despair, no reason for anxiety, worry, loneliness. And the danger of a pseudo-scientific or a godless spirituality is that these aspects of God's reality, God's nature, are forgotten about. But these aspects are really important. So most importantly, just to remember that He is, then brings us in touch with all of this. So to remember means to smaran, and that also is called simran. So to remain in unceasing prayer is to remain in a constant remembrance, which isn't, it's not a memory type remembrance. It is a live being present to His reality, being present to His presence. And to take His name is one of the simplest ways to remain alive to His presence, to remain present to His presence. To remain empty for Him is a beautiful way to do that. To inquire into the nature of reality is a beautiful way to do that. So all spiritual paths are just ways in which we remain empty for God, in remembrance of God. So try to be in despair without doubting any of these. Can we do it? I have reason to doubt if God isn't. If God isn't, then I'm just on my own and this whole big bad world is for me to deal with, and it's every quote unquote man for himself, and it's a very dangerous way to live, seems like. So, but we recognize that God is. It's not just an idea, but an intuitive sense, an intuitive insight that God is. And God is not just like a unconcerned watcher of the movie, but he is that witness, pure untouched witnessing, but also he is the most loving, caring parent, beloved child. The one who's so faithful in his presence with us. He never takes a holiday away from us. We take many holidays away from him. So his love for us is unquestionable. His intelligence, his awareness of not just my life but of everything is unquestionable. His ability to create and to manifest whatever is his will is very apparent to all of us. And he has no constraints of time and space. So why can we not live like little children in his care? That is the journey of spirituality. To return to that innocence, which is full of the highest insights, full of the highest love, highest light. Okay, I feel I'll take a break and just lie down for a bit. We just close with the Hanuman Chalisa.
श्री गुरु चरण सरोज रज निज मन मुकुर सुधारि रामा निज मन मुकुर सुधारि बरनउँ रघुबर विमल जसु जो दायक फल चारि तुलसी जो दायक फल चारि बुद्धिहीन तनु जानिके सुमिरो पवन कुमार रामा सुमिरो पवन कुमार बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु कलेश विकार तुलसी हरहु कलेश विकार। जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपीस तिहु लोक उजागर राम दूत अतुलित बल धामा अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नामा महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी कुमति निवार सुमत के संगी कंचन बरन बिराज सुबेसा कानन कुंडल कुंजित केसा हाथ वज्र और ध्वजा बिराजे कांधे मूंज जनेऊ साजे शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिबे को आतुर प्रभु चरित सुनिबे को रसिया राम लखन सीता मन बसिया सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सियहि दिखावा विकट रूप धरि लंक जरावा भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे रामचंद्र के काज सवारे लाय सजीवन लखन जियाए श्री रघुवीर हर्षि उर लाए रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बड़ाई, तुम मम प्रिय भरत ही सम भाई। सहस बदन तुम रोजस गावे, अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे। सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीसा, नारद सारद सहित अहिसा। जम कुबेर दिखपाल जगाते, कवि कोविद कह सके कहाते। तुम उपकार सुग्रीव ही कीन्हा, राम मिलाए राजपद दीन्हा। तुम्हरे मंत्र विभीषण माना, लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना। जुग सहस्त्र जो जन पर भानु, लील्यो ताहि मधुर फल जानु। प्रभु मुद्रिका मिली मुख माहि, जलधि लांघि गए अचरज नाहि। दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते, सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हरे तेते। राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे, होतन आज्ञा बिनु पैसारे। सब सुख लहे तुम्हारी सरना, तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना। आपन तेज समारो आपे, तीनों लोक हांकते कापे। भूत पिशाच विकट नहीं आवे, महावीर जब नाम सुनावे। नासे रोग हरे सब पीरा, जपत निरंतर हनुमत बीरा। संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावे, मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जो लावे। सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा, तिनके काज सकल तुम साजा। और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे, सोई अमित जीवन फल पावे। चारों जुग परताप तुम्हारा, है पर सिद्धि जगत उजियारा। साधु संत के तुम रखवारे, असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे। अष्ट सिद्धि नौ निधि के दाता, असबर दीन जानकी माता। राम रसायन तुम्हरे पासा, सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा। तुम्हरे भजन राम को पावे, जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावे। अंत काल रघुवरपुर जाई, जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई। और देवता चित्तन धरई, हनुमत से सर्व सुख करई। संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा, जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलबीरा। जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई, कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाई। जो सत बार पाठ कर कोई, छूट ही बंदी महासुख होई। जो यह पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा, होय सिद्धि साखी गौरीसा। तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा, कीजय नाथ हृदय महाडेरा। पवन सनय संकट हरन, मंगल मूर्ति रूप रामा। मंगल मूर्ति रूप, राम लखन सीता सहित, हृदय बसहु सुरभूप। तुलसी हृदय बसहु सुरभूप।